Hello and good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for jumping on another live market review and trading session for F45 trading. If you're just joining us for the first time, we're going to take a little bit of time, run through the Forex markets. We're going to talk a little bit about commodities and a little bit about crypto. We're going to find out where everything's positioned here for this Thursday New York Open, and if there is a potential trade set up for today, we will be hunting for that and looking at potentially taking a demo trade on it and seeing what opportunities lie. So we're going to get started. I typically start all my sessions with a review of the current news releases that have dropped or are about to drop in this case. So here we are on Thursday, June 21st. As you can see, the pound dollar had several monetary rate news releases that happened about an hour and a half ago here, and you can obviously see the reaction in the pound dollar. I'm just going to do a quick refresh, and it should show us what the numbers are here. Okay, so you can see all the actual numbers here that actually came in on the pound dollar. Looks like they raised their bank rates by a couple of points. So you can kind of see why we see the reaction ensue on the pound dollar. And we'll go through this chart here in a minute. There was some low impact news on the Canadian dollar a few minutes ago, and the USD Philly Fed Manufacturing Index and unemployment claims were just released as well too. And then there's some additional low impact news events coming up for the US dollar and the euro, which in all honesty probably won't do a whole lot to the market. And then there's one very late in the day Governor Carney speech at 4:15 New York time. So it might be a bit of a delayed reaction in the pound dollar towards market close. But I personally don't trade this time of the market myself here, so there's really, unless it's a major, major event, there wouldn't be anything that would constitute me being in the market at that time. So anyway, that's sort of what we're looking at on the markets today. And we also hit a major milestone. This level right here, see this green line? I'm just going to thicken this up a little bit here so it makes it a little more obvious. Oops. You see how price came in and just banged right into it. The high came in at 95.19.8, which is basically, all intents and purposes, 95.20. And I've had that level marked out and earmarked on the chart here now for a very, very long time. After price came up and was starting to push up through into this run here, that was basically my area target. After it ran the stops here finally at 95.05, which I'm going to get rid of this line here now. Give me 1 second. I just got to find my price tag label. There it is. Oh, never mind, that didn't work. Sorry, guys. Anyway, 95.05 was the highs, these old double tops right here. And I've been saying forever that price is going to run that and run it convincingly, and it's going to run up to this level right here. Basically, just this area right in here, these old lows in here was the target. And you can see today, finally, after coming up, doing a fake out here, a return back down. And you can see down here, this was sort of the tip up, how they had failed to go lower on this. They came down here, failed, ran higher, and it was a failure swing to run through these, and they came back down one more time to grab up some liquidity below the market. Dropped down, double bottom, and then this one candle right here, that was really the tip off right there. You can see how it came down, and the low on that candle came in at I can get it on the chart here. Come on. Come on. There we go. Low in the candle came in at 93.15. Low in this candle here came in at 93.17. So literally by 1.5 pips or so, it came down, grabbed it, and rejected. And beautiful rejection on that. And that was, I mean, that was it. As soon as you see this candle right here, that's your tip off. You know they're going higher. They came back down one more time off a very logical level in here, and then finally expanded higher, grabbing all of the stops. Now, you can see what price is doing right here. So, basically, I'm going to drill down here just a bit to the hourly. You can see how price is falling off. If they are planning on running price higher, long term, I wouldn't want to see them come back down under this market structure right here. So you see how they put these in here. I don't, in my opinion, think that we would need to come down below 93. Well, really, you know, 93 even. I think that would be sort of, you know, they had the chance to come down there. They just came down by a pip, and then just a beautiful reaction ensued. They came back down one more time, and now they're pushing higher. So if this could be a turtle soup, as you can see. So I'm just going to grab this line here. Okay. So they came up, they ran it, and now they just grabbed all the liquidity, and now they're starting to reject. So I want to see what happens right here at this level here. So I'm going to grab this. So 94.70 really is kind of the level I'm more so interested in. If they have no willingness to go lower than 94.70, then they could be pushing higher, and this wasn't just a liquidity run. Now, if they do push lower than this, then my eye is going to go into this area right here. Ultimately, the low, there's a little bit of area underneath here where they could still want to come up and scoop up some long positions. And if that doesn't hold, then we're going to be looking at this area here. And this is kind of the line in the sand. There are some equal lows down here, so they may want to come back down one more time. And ultimately, I'm fairly bullish on the dollar. The Feds have been raising the interest rate as of late, and that bodes fairly well for the strength of the dollar. And you can see the nice big bull run right here. That's happened, and I think we could see higher prices. But for now, they may need to cool their jets a little bit and come off and recapitalize some of the positions lower in the market. So we're going to watch for that. And I should mention as well, too, guys, I've got my my chat window up here on my left. So if you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and fire them up into the chat window, and I'll do my best to answer your question here as I see them. You'll have to give me a little bit of time. I can't multitask very well. Surprise, surprise. So I'll look over every 10-15 minutes type of thing, and just as I remember, and have a look. And if you guys have any questions, just fire them up there, and I can do my best to answer them for you. So anyway, I think we could see this cooling off a little bit. It came up, hit a major milestone. Also came up into a potential area of interim resistance at this level right here, and hit it perfectly. And so far it's rejected. So I'm not necessarily saying that I think this is going to be the bottom. It could run a little bit lower. So if that's the case, then I'd like to see what price develop a little bit before we jump into a position based on the dollar. Now, if we run over to the Euro USD, same type of idea. Now, here's the interesting part on the Euro USD. You see this here? Failed to make a lower low. Or did it? What are we looking at here? I'm just looking at the Euro USD now here. Sorry, guys. That was an inaccurate statement. It just got the low right here by, looks like, about a pip or two. So I'm just going to see if I can't zoom out to get all that in there. No, it's not going to let me. I'll have to go to an hourly. There we go. So this low here this candle right there came in at 115.09, and this candle right here came in at 115.07. So just grab the liquidity under the market. Same idea as the dollar. Ran those equal highs there, and so far we're rejecting. So we could see prices run a bit higher. Now I've got a couple levels up here, dog tagged, and I think price could return up to the 1725 level. So I'm going to be watching for that. I'm not, so I guess long term I should maybe start out and just kind of explain myself a little bit better. I think long term prices, I think we're going to have it coming through here. See this area in here? I think we're going to have prices come in and run down through into this area eventually, and eventually tag off of this 11300 level that I have marked, the spread line right here. I'll just thicken this up a little bit. Actually, let's do this. That's more so my target going forward, to cap off the remainder of June and into July months. I think that's there's some heavy weight on the downside. You can see this move here, obviously coupled with the US dollar. We all know what's going on there. So we could see this move and start to migrate south. But after this stop run here today, this guy right here, I wouldn't be interested in selling it yet until it has finally hit the topped out, and away we go. And basically all I want to do is I want to see if there's any willingness to go above this high right here. If we can get in above this high here, then there's going to be two levels of resistance that I'm looking at. Level 1 is going to be at 1650, and level 2 is going to be at 1725. So I'm going to be watching those two levels, and I don't like to counter trend trade. So a lot of people will just say, well, why don't you just wait for price to roll over, come back down, retest the lows, and then expand higher. You know, you could certainly do that, and there's an opportunity in small retracements like here and small retracements here that you could certainly get those opportunities. But I'm more so of the opinion that I like to obviously trade with the trend, and I think the stronger move is to the downside, obviously. But we could see a quick rejection here for the interim, so I'm going to be watching these two levels here, and that would potentially be from our current location 60 pips or 130 pips. Now here's the other thing too, guys. It's also Thursday, towards the end of the week. Typically what happens with the end of the week is that you get price start to level off and recapitalize for next week. So you'll typically see, if it's a bear market, you'll typically see the lows hit on Thursday. Right about now, from anywhere between now and about the next 3 hours or so, you'll see the low get hit. If it's a bull market, you'll see the high get hit on Thursday. And you can see Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So the week opened up right here. So I've got the candle marked right there. So this was the weekly profile here. And I would expect us to finish out somewhere up in this neighborhood here. I don't necessarily think they're going to start jamming price all the way up here and taking out this high from earlier this week today. I don't believe that would be the target of the day. I think they would more so hold off until next week. But you can see sort of how the weekly profile is looking right now. More than likely what they're going to do is probably finish price somewhere in around here. So it will be on the weekly candle. If you look at that, just zoom it right in here, it will probably be very close to a doji looking candle for the week. So that's sort of what I'm expecting, but very nice reaction off of that level. And I believe next week, going into next week, that we could see price start to migrate a little bit higher. And these would be the two levels that I'm looking at. So if, for instance, 116.50 is the high, and which would basically just be a quick run above here. Incidentally, just so you guys know, price would need to get above, how about this guy here? You see this small consolidation area right here where price is topped out between these levels here and this level right there. This is going to have to be broken, obviously, convincingly before the 116.50 level has been run. So that would sort of be an interim target as well too on the upside. Now we could see that happen today. What they could do is come down, run price up to here, and then start to reject, and then, like I say, finish sort of off the week down a little bit here in that neighborhood. That's what I'm expecting for the remainder of the day, and then into tomorrow we'll have to see what happens there. And then next week, like I say, if we have willingness to get above here, then this is the next target. If we have willingness to get above here, then this 17.25 would be the next target. So you could certainly counter trend trade for the purposes of today. I'm not going to be looking for a trade on the euro to happen. I don't believe that's where the trade is going to exist. And you can kind of see here as well too, a little bit of sideways action on the market for the week, right? I mean, again, going back to the weekly candle, it's not real exciting there. I'd rather participate in a candle like this or like this. So not a whole bunch there. I think the trade was technically in the pound dollar this week for the majors. So that's about all my comments on the euro for right now. We'll watch that pan out, and I want to switch over to the cable, and you can see the strength that we had on this run here thus far. So I'm just gonna get rid of some shrapnel on the chart here for you guys. Put up some data dividers so we can see how the week is looking. And you can see the strength to the downside on this pair versus the euro. So you can see this is the weekly chart on the euro, and it's really just been sort of chopping sideways. It's because they've been manipulating the pound dollar, and they've been letting this pair run. So Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday's trading opened up right here. And we're just testing the open of the week right now. So very, very important level. If this does want to go higher, then I would be looking for this level right here, 32.65, to be a potential target. And if they want to take that, there are some equal highs, relatively equal highs right here and right here. That could be the target, and then these two tweezer tops right here. So again, going forward, we could see the same thing happen. Now I want to just run out on a daily so you guys can see this. My ultimate projections on the pound dollar, you can probably see it right there. That's sort of where I'm looking. Now, that's where my eye is going. I believe there's a ton of liquidity down here, and they failed to get it on this run higher. And I believe that's where a lot of institutional money is sitting, and that's where the draw on price is. So if we go back to the back to here, you can see. Whoops, back to here, you can see we haven't got there yet. We've failed to get down to that low yet. So I think there is going to be further continuation on the downside. And really, if you look at this level here at 3,100, it's just a 3,100 is an institutional level, big figure level that they'd reversed price on, and in my opinion, like if you cut through the candles and come back over here, in my opinion, there isn't a whole lot of area in there that I would suggest that is supporting price. So, which means, long story short, I believe, we're going to see another push to the downside. But if we go back to the weekly profile, all right, I'm just going to measure this out here for you guys so you can see. We opened up right here. Price just barely came up on Tuesday, and it failed to take out the highs from Monday, and then we've seen price push down, and now we're back up at the open of the week. So there's your market profile for the week. I think, again, similar to the pound dollar, depending on how high we finish today. I'm sorry, similar to the Euro USD. Depending on how high we finish today, this could be resistance right in here for the day. And if they do have any willingness to go higher than 132.65, we could see a quick 10 pip stop run on these equal highs right here, and maybe potentially some willingness to get up into here. So that's, but once they do that, I would expect a bit of a price to cool off a bit, and I would expect it to settle back down to here. So bit of a sloppy market profile for the week, but you can see the lows obviously taken on Thursday, creating the low of the week, and you can see the reaction that's happened. So I was looking at two areas for a potential reversal. Now this, guys, just so you know, this is why I don't pick tops when the price is hitting it at the time. I know there's a lot of traders out there that pride themselves in saying that I went short at the absolute high of a market move, and you know, and look at this. Don't get me wrong, I've done it in the past. I've done it several times, but I've also been wrong several times, and so I like to wait and price to confirm that it's hit the top, and then once that's done, then I get in. So, you know, you're kind of sitting there asking yourself, well, then you miss out on you know, several pips. Yeah, that's definitely the case. You could be in a move on the downside that could be a target of 200 pips, but you waited, and you know, you lost out maybe 20 pips on the confirmation just to make sure that you were right, and you avoided any drawdown. In my opinion, you know, getting 170 or even 150 pips of a 200 pip move potentially would be worth waiting for, in my opinion. And that's sort of what I'm looking at here. Obviously, if price comes up into here, we'd be looking for price to come back up, reject, and then come back up and retest the highs. And then that's where we'd see the failure swing come down, and then I'd be looking for, this would be my first target, and then ultimately on the long term, that would be my second target. And I'll just actually put a price tag down here so you guys can see what my target is. Basically 129.90. So that's where I believe ultimately price is headed. Now from there we could be headed lower, but for the interim, for the next, you know, 2 to 3 weeks, certainly obviously to finish off June and potentially into July, I believe that's where we're going to see the price of pound dollar stretching for. So that's my analysis on. This is a bit of a mess. I apologize, guys. But that's my analysis on the pound dollar. So I wouldn't expect price to continue to rip higher and start to clear these highs here yet. I think if that is going to happen, we're going to need to see a major market shift in the U.S. dollar, and that's what we're going to find out here today. If this was a stop run, and all they want to do is grab the liquidity there, and their ultimate intention was to bring it all the way back down here into this area, that's fine. You know, I got no problem doing that. We've hit a major milestone. I've been calling it for a while. If that's all they want to do with price, I'd be very satisfied that the you know, the highs were run, and now we're going to seek lower liquidity. That'd be fine. There's several areas above price from here where I think they could want to stretch, and this one being one of the big ones, this 98.35 on the upside. So that could be the potential target, but in the interim, they may want to run it down. And I've given you the levels to look for on the US dollar. If they start breaking through these, hang on here, zoom out a little bit. If they start running through, you can see this one just ran through this level here. So we'll see if they just wanted to pick up the lows under here and reject and continue higher. If they want to keep continuing down, my eyes are going to go to this box right here. And if they have willingness to go down there, right, this is the last level. And if they want to keep going down from there, then I believe that could be the shift in market structure, and we could see a break to the downside. So, but again, there's a lot of things. Now, seasonally, this is what I wanted to bring up to you, just so you're aware. seasonally the U.S. dollar is does start to turn bearish at this time of year for the next. 1 second. I'm just trying to bring up a chart, seasonal chart. There we go. Sorry, my eyes weren't working this morning. 1 second, I'm just got it here. So this is seasonally. You can see we're just starting to come into some chop right here, right now. So the early part of July, and then pretty much right around the first to the start of the second week in July is where we start to see this start to see this bearish slide start to happen, and it bottoming out into October. So I'll just pop up the 5-year on there so you can see it as well too. We are just right about, where are we here? June 21st. So we're right about in this area right here. So historically, there could be a little bit of upside left, that we may see. But ultimately, like I say, in the next about 2 weeks, that's when we start to turn net bearish, and historically, price has fallen off and created its lows in and around the September and early October levels. So that's a fairly big, going to be a fairly big pull on the U.S. dollar. But again, and I can't stress this enough. It's the Feds. They're manipulating this, obviously. They're raising interest rates, so once they start doing that, they're going to start squeezing and pulling the dollar. And this thing has been suppressed for a very, very long time. Since November of 2016, the U.S. dollar has been suppressed, and obviously now they're just finally starting to break out of that. We hit a major milestone today, so right now is not the time to sit here and get into very, very large positions. And now just keep in mind, guys, obviously you manage your own money the way you manage it, and I'm not going to say anything about that. But I would highly suggest you don't dogpile on the longs on the U.S. dollar yet. Wait for price to do its thing. I want to see some rejection in here, and then I want to see some support forming in these areas. So we're going to wait and watch. Okay. Anyway, if I haven't bored you enough about that, that's the U.S. dollar, that's the Euro USD, the pound dollar. I can't analyze those any more than that. You've got my ideas going forward. Euro GBP, seeing some rejection here. Again, this is typically what I would use as a gauge to hedge what the euro and the pound are going to do. And, very interesting market structure in here. Really all they're doing is just chopping this sideways while they are manipulating the euro and the pound. So that's really all they're doing in there. And I'm just going to clean this chart up just a little bit. It's driving me crazy. So that's why you're seeing all of this happening here. But on a day-to-day basis, you see the run down here. This is why we're seeing the strength in the pound dollar. These run-ups here provide weakness for the pound dollar and strength for the euro, etc., etc. So that's the divergence between those. And you can see they've just been chopping it sideways. So not a whole lot to go off of there. U.S. CAD, I want to talk about this. This thing has been in a massive bull market, and it's almost hit my target. It's almost come up and run. I'm looking for these highs to get breached, and then potentially, you see over in here, see these candles over in here, potentially we could see price run either this low right here at 133, call it 90, or this level right in here at 134.35. So I kind of like that level a little bit better, 134.35, and I've already got that marked with that red line right there. So I'm just going to put that on there so you can see that. That's sort of the levels that I'm looking at for an expansion higher on the US CAD. Now again, we did run this daily high right here. So they may, if they are going to push up here, they may want to come back down a little bit before they do that. But you can see this beautiful expansion. Now, for a while, as price was running down into here, I was looking forward to run higher off of a support and a retest back down into these levels here. And you can see it did that, but it really did it in a very, very ugly fashion. This market structure right in here was absolutely ugly to trade. And I didn't, once it started doing it, I had a couple of trades that went off in here. And but once price, it just had no willingness to get out of this range and just really worked all the levels in here. And I stopped trading this after this big move right here. You can see this one right here. After that move right there, I stopped trading the US CAD, and because I honestly wasn't too sure if they wanted to roll over and start coming down and testing these lows in here, or sorry, these old highs in here. But you can see they just, for whatever reason, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about a week ago, I think it was the end of last week, they finally pushed up and just have not looked back once since. So price has almost come up to my level, my first level here, resistance, which is basically just this old equal high up in here. I'm expecting them to bang off on that. Are we going to see it today? You know, it's very, very possible they could make another run for that today. But this thing's just sort of been defying all odds here and creating new highs. It's only 40 pips away. Wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, if they finished that off the week by hitting that. And there is some Canadian dollar news, as I was saying, coming out here in about, I think it was low impact news. Oh no, I'm sorry, my apologies. It already ran about a half an hour ago. Price ran, and so far it's failed to push higher into it. And I'm just wondering, maybe, I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. You see these news events right here. We have CPI, core retail sales, and common CPI, median CPI, etc., etc., etc. Retail news coming out. That's all on Friday at New York Open 8:30. So just keep in mind, we could see that push if you are a US CAD trader. We could see that push up and through this level going into tomorrow. So now, normally, like I would say, I would think that they would keep the highs on Thursday that got hit. But just, you look at this price action right here, and it just has had zero interest in stalling. They haven't given anybody a real chance to get in on this move either. Like typically what I would be looking for something would be like a breakout and retest. So as they're chopping in this consolidation area right in here, they finally break price out, they run the highs, and then they come back down one more time and retest these old highs in here. That's where I'd be looking to get long, and then the push higher. They haven't done that. They've just been screaming right out of the gate and pushing higher. So that's why I kind of think that maybe going into Friday, we could see the final push higher up into here. And then, like I say, these highs in here getting ran, and then price coming up and potentially sweeping back to the lows. Basically, all I'm looking for is price. Price trades from consolidation to consolidation, and that's all it's doing here. And I would expect them to come up, and this area right in here, these candle lows, could be act as some resistance on the upside, where we could see price finally come back down, and it may do something like this. So this could be Friday's price action up into here, and then we could see a bit of a rejection happen after that. So that's what I'm looking at the US CAD. But again, I'm not interested in getting long right here. And yeah, I know some of you will sit there and say, well, you know what, there's still another 120 pips to get. Yeah, that's very, very true. But I think I'd rather be the guy getting in on a retest back down to these levels here, and then a push higher on a potential 300 pip run, versus just trying to squeeze out the last potential. You may not even get this going into Friday, last 100 pips or so. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. And just keep in mind, price could just pop its head above this old high right here. This guy right here, price could just run just above 5 or 10 pips and then reject. So, you know, that's the other thing too, is you say, well, okay, well, maybe I'll get in here and I'll just do a quick run up to that level there. Yeah, you could certainly scalp that if you'd be interested, but I'm not looking at doing any, you know, short-term scalping today. So, unfortunately, I don't see anything there yet. We'll just sit back to this euro. Hit a fairly, see how we're slammed right into the open candle on the weekly open right here. So far hasn't had any willingness to go higher yet. I'm looking, so what I'd be looking for here, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, and I know I'm kind of switching back and forth, but I really want to keep my eye on this pound dollar. Hypothetically speaking, if this is the high of the week, what I'd be looking for price to do, so you see it came up into here, I'd be looking for price to reject back down, come back down to this old high in here, or somewhere thereabouts, maybe these highs here, come back up to about this level here, and then reject. That's what I'd be looking for on the pound. So, you know, if we see this market structure start to happen, basically I'd be looking for this failure swing to ensue, and then that's where I'd be getting short on the pound dollar. So that's why, like I say, I'm not picking the highs, because all too often the price is, you know, it looks like it's doing that, and then it just starts running the old highs here, and then it just, you know, blows you out. So I'm not picking the top, but I'll wait for confirmation in order to pick the top. Okay, I don't trade a lot of yen. I know there's lots of yen traders out there. When price was down in here and it was doing this, I didn't pick the low down here. I basically just said that 110.80 is going to act as some type of support level to this pair, and as you can see here, came in, and you can go back to my live videos from a couple weeks back. I had mentioned that level, and that 110.80 has been on my charts for quite a while. It finally hit there early this week, and so far price has been unwilling to go higher. So that's the other thing too, is I'm looking at this as, okay, so the US dollar ran this high here, the pound yen has failed to run this high here yet. So it could be a delayed effect. We could be coming back down one more time to load up and then grabbing longs and then pushing higher. I didn't see any, although I wasn't looking, because I'm not a yen trader, but I didn't see any major news events for the yen happening. There's some low impact news later on today, and I don't see anything else. Let me just bring up next week real quick here, just off screen. Again, I don't see any major news events so far going into next week for the yen. Actually, and just overall, it's actually quite a light week in terms of news events happening. So, yeah, if the yen doesn't grab any strength in here, then I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to run this high here. I think as the US dollar was doing it today, they should have been pushing up into here, and I don't see that happening, which kind of leads me to believe this could be a bit of a suspect move. Being a bit of a suspect move, that they're just interested in running the stops, and then they're going to continue lower. And this, you know, this is one of the reasons why here, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm not a big yen trader. I've got a couple of analysts that work with us at F45 Trading who do trade the yen pairs, the yen and all the cross pairs, and you can stay tuned to our live events that happen regularly throughout the week, and all of our members, obviously, you get signals on the yen. So if you are a yen trader, we definitely do provide you support with that. But this isn't my pair, this isn't my market, so I don't want to go too into depth on that. A lot of retail traders, though, they'll be looking at this. See this trend line support here? Come in, tested it, retested it, and we should be looking for an expansion higher. Don't get me wrong, we could see this expansion higher for sure. But I just find it a little bit odd that the US dollar is showing all that strength, and this has failed to get up there. So we could see lower prices on the yen. And I'd be honest with you, this blue line right here, in my opinion, would be the first level that I'd be looking at for them to come back and run to the downside. If this level here gets taken out, I should say. So I'm going to bring this down. See this level right in here, 109 big figure. If 109 big figure gets run out, if I can get that close enough, then this is going to be the target. This 107.85 level is going to be the target on the downside. So just keep that in mind if you are a yen trader. This little trend line here may not offer you any support, especially if you see the dollar roll over and run to the downside. Moving on, I'm going to talk about crude oil here in a minute because I am a big crude oil trader. And if you want to see a pair analyzed up on the chart, just throw it up here and I'll just run through it real quick with you. The Aussie dollar, okay. So far, just took out this low right here. See this rejection block right in here? Just took out that low right there, and it's done it. It did it on Tuesday here. And I just want to see, did we capture the low today? Price came in at 0.73646, and the low today was 73.44, 73.45. So it got it by 1 pip. It took it 1 pip, and so far it's been running higher. Now there was a lot of strength in the Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar futures contract was showing a lot of strength, and I think this move was really showing it. But I think it just buckled to the strength of the U.S. dollar, and you can see here it just fell right out of bed this week and last week, and so far it's creating new lows. Now going forward, I've got this 73. You know what? I think the low came in. I just want to get the exact low. If you guys just bear with me for 1 second here. Sometimes it's a little bit tedious. 73.28. So I'm just going to put that. It's pretty close to it right now, but I like exact numbers. 73.28. Because it's all about precision. I think that area is definitely going to be a big area of support. And this candle right in here, this candle should offer some sort of support. So if we did just see a bump, sort of a bump and run there on the U.S. dollar, scooping those stops, turtle souping and running lower, then this will pretty much act as support. You know, price shouldn't go any lower than there, and we should see price run higher on Aussie. So basically what I'm saying is we may not see price run lower than there, and we could just come down into it and then start to run higher because the Aussie is showing some strength. But if the U.S. dollar continues on its upward trajectory, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, you know, longer term, and again, the only reason is because, you know, the federal policies, they're raising interest rates, and we've got that trade war that Trump is putting on with China and you know, Canada and Mexico. You know, they're trying to strengthen the dollar right now, and so I think that the other cross pairs could be affected, so we could see further downside. So this low would be the first one. If it does get run, then we're going to go under these lows right here, and this 72.80 level I think would get tagged on the downside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in the future if we see continued dollar strength. So that's really about it. I can't talk much more about Aussie. Just because we're not necessarily at a level that interests me too much. We just ran the lows here just briefly, and now we're coming off of those lows. So on the upside, we could see a retracement. I mean, we could definitely see a retracement higher. There's lots of very, very significant levels that have. There's liquidity. See this here? There's stops above here. And there's stops above here, and there are tons of stops right above here. So those are definitely very, very significant levels where on the upside, if they want to run price higher, that's where they could start jamming price up to. So on the upside, and what again, so what I'd be looking, something similar as the pound dollar, right? if this pound dollar is the high, I'd be looking for a similar market structure on the Aussie. If this is the low, and they kind of did it right here. See this candle right here? They came down, they scooped the lows under here, and I'm just going to run this line under here so you can see that a little bit better. They scooped the lows by 1 or 2 pips right there and rejected. So, and then they started to expand off of that, and they came all the way up to here, ran back down, retested these lows here, and so far they've failed to go any lower than that. So I'd be honest with you, and that is kind of the same similar structure that I was looking at on the pound dollar, but in reverse. Okay, so price is they've come down, they've made a stop run, they've come off the lows, they came back down one more time, retested these levels in here, and right in here, and so far there's been no willingness to continue lower. And so far, we've expanded higher. And that's sort of the market structure break that I would be looking for. I'm not a huge Aussie trader. In my opinion, it trades a little bit slow sometimes. So I'm not a super big fan of it. But I definitely do watch it because there are some pretty good opportunities. And when this thing gets moving, it gets moving very, very nicely. This pair trends very, very, very well. So I will put some trades into it sometimes, but I'm not looking at anything today, just because it is Thursday and because the U.S. dollar has hit this high. So let me give you an idea, guys, just in case you're new and you're just joining us. In terms of our live trading sessions, I personally get on and I'll trade the London Open for Tuesday mornings, and I look to get into trades to set up the week. Get into the daily range on the Tuesday, potentially catch the swing high or the swing low for that week and trade that. And I'll typically put in a limit order and you know, I'll get on for about an hour. I'll analyze it, see if there's any areas of interest, and away we go. Dave comes in and he does some market analysis and trades S&P, gold, and a few other pairs on Wednesdays. I come in on Thursdays and I'll look to finish off and cap the week and get the remainder of the week. However, if this didn't happen yet, like let's say price was trading right around here, and I was expecting an expansion higher, I'd be getting into some trades right now, and I'd be looking at that. But because we did this so early, this could be the high of the week right here that just hit, and we could be trading softer. So, you know, I know a lot of you guys are in here looking for trades, and I appreciate that, and we do trades all the time. However, today, because of that, I'm not necessarily interested in getting into a lot of trades. So if that's all you're in here doing today is just looking for a trade today, I don't know that I'm going to see anything yet. Now, I still got a number of pairs I'm going to analyze here and some commodities that I'm going to get into. I don't want to take too much more time to do it, but I'm not necessarily looking to jump in a trade right now today. Now, Dave come back tomorrow because Dave day trades the S&P, and he always gets in and he always you know, runs you know, a couple of trades typically in his sections, so you can certainly jump on tomorrow. But for me, for my trades and everything like that, more than likely next Tuesday will be the day that I'll be offering some live trades on that. So just to kind of give you an idea. I'm not sure what you're in here and what your motivation is, if you're just getting market direction, market bias. But like something like this, you know, this is what I'd be looking for. But again, just because it is today, and we hit those old highs on the U.S. dollar, I'm not looking for anything right now. So anyway, we'll watch for this to see if we can see price expanding higher. And again, went off on a little bit of a tangent there. That would be kind of the first level I'd be looking for, and then every level above if we do get weakness on the U.S. dollar. They did a convincing stop run right there, just above this. See this right in here? This market structure right here where they consolidated price and then turtle souped and dropped it. That's a stop run. So that's why I say that there's no stops you know, necessarily above there. They would have cleaned those out. Not really convincingly. There's certainly areas up here and definitely up into here. There's lots of areas of stops above that. So that could be a target though. Certainly today, if this was the low of the week right here, which is interesting. You look at this market structure as well too. Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Here's Monday's open right here. Price came down, traded softer right off the hop, traded up into here, and then we're back, came back down, retested, just swept the lows, potentially creating the low of the week, and now we're just trading softer so far. So the weekly profile is going to be a down candle, but they definitely traded sideways for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can see that there. So just breaking things out a little bit easier for you. Dave trades gold as well too. As I said, S&P and gold, expecting further downside on gold, especially with the run higher on the US dollar. So just keep that in mind if you're a gold trader. Definitely hit a big level today though. And I'll just run let me get rid of some of this stuff here. There we go. So price really jammed in and jammed right into this small consolidation area right into here. This down candle right here came right down into it. Now, price did not stop at a logical level in my opinion, so that's why I kind of think there's going to be further downside to this guy here. And I'd be targeting the levels down in here on gold. I'm not a huge gold trader also. I used to trade gold and silver quite a bit. But I don't really, I'm not really in love with the markets and these markets here, and I honestly think, in my personal opinion, they artificially suppress these. I personally think the price of gold and silver should be higher, but it's not. They've been really suppressing price since 2013. You can see here. Well, the real suppression actually began here in 2012, and since then they've just been pushing the markets lower, and silver's no different. So I'm not a gigantic gold trader, but Dave loves to trade gold, so you can check that out tomorrow. Same time, he'll be back, and he'll be trading S&P and gold for you. S&P also just about making some new highs here as well too. Tuesday's candle came down, rejected. Probably going to see higher prices on S&P, but he'll talk about that in more detail. If there's any S&P traders out there for you, he'll be going through. He's a huge S&P trader, does very well in this market. So I'd advise you to tune back in and listen to Dave there tomorrow. Now that's pretty much my Forex review, guys. So I'll put up in the chat here if you do have a Forex pair that you want me to throw up on the chart. I'm not really too interested in, and I'll do a quick analysis. Like if it's an exotic pair, I'm not big into trading those. But if it's a major cross pair like the Swissy or you know, the Beast, the GBP Yen, or something like that, you know, I'll certainly have a look at it. But if it's a real exotic pair, I'll just do a quick overview, a 2-minute overview. But just throw it up in the chat there. I'll watch for that. But that's pretty much my analysis on the Forex currency pairs. I'm just going to run through real quickly commodities, and then you guys can kind of go about your day for the rest of the day. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight. Oil, I called this level here, 63.70. Finally came down on Monday and just touched off of it, and so far hasn't shown any real willingness to get back down there. Today, bit of a down day today. But they are sitting, just keep in mind, I stopped trading crude oil. This push down right here, I got a long in off into here, and it was really just a 1-2 day trade, and then I closed my position. I didn't get the low or anything like that, but sorry about that. You can probably hear my air conditioner kick off there. That's that noise. Price traded in here, and I wasn't interested in doing anything here, and it was really the OPEC meetings are the main reason why I'm not trading crude oil. That's going on, started yesterday, going today and tomorrow, and so I'm not interested in doing anything until they're done with those. And they're calling for production increases. So what that's going to do, it's going to soften up the price of crude oil. Now long term, I'm bullish. I think there's lots of areas above the current market structure that could be a draw on price. So lots and lots of areas up in here where we could see price want to run back up to. Oil is a very high demand commodity. It's not going anywhere. It's in everything. If you caught my interview yesterday with Dale at Forex Analytics, then you'll know my comments on that. But I believe we're going to see continued higher prices in oil long term. Short term, however, we could see further move to the downside. And this 63.70 was the first level. And again, you can go back. This is all documented live. I talk about all of this. As price was up into here and it made its high and it started trading off, this was the first level. And I've had this green line and this price tag on my chart since price was up here. And look what price did. It just came down and just ticked off of it beautifully. It actually just closed in this candle high right here. You can see the high came in at 63.57. The low in here on this guy came in at, let me get rid of this, 63, wait a minute, I'm grabbing the wrong low here. Come on. Alright, you know what? This is easier if I just do this. You can see right there, the low of this candle just came into the top of that candle. And so far, it's rejected. But from I used big figure numbers, so 63.70 was the level I was calling, and that was really just the high off of this this bear candle right there. So you can see what I was driving at there. But I think this, you see this level right down here. This is the next level, and that's just a sweep on these lows right here. I think this area under here, for whatever reason, it's just kind of been calling my name. I could be totally wrong on this. I do think we're going to see weaker prices in crude oil. I definitely think we're going to see weaker prices. And if 62.75 level gets broken, so just keep that in mind. 62.75. If they come all the way down and trade down to 62.75 and don't want to see any willingness to go lower than that, then they won't come down and hit 60. However, if they come down to that level and keep pushing, I would put this level on your chart as a potential level that they're going to run. And just ignore that 3 level. That's nothing. 60 even, and I honestly believe that's where we're heading for crude oil. So. And we're going to find out. I haven't put a trade in here yet, but what I would expect to happen is the news to come out tomorrow, which will pretty much confirm what I already know, that they're going to increase production. They have cleared out the surplus that it was existing since 2015, and now that they've done that, they're free to bring up the production by a few million barrels a day. Russia, I know, is pushing, and Russia's come on, and Putin's come on, and he said that he's fine with $60 oil. They can make money at that. There's no issues there. And a number of other OPEC member countries have kind of said the same thing. But again, oil, very, very manipulated, very geopolitically motivated. And I'm just waiting on this guy until these OPEC meetings are done, and then I'll start getting back to trading this again. But I've been taking about a 3-week hiatus off of it until these meetings are finished and they figure out what the hell they want to do with crude oil and the production. So that's crude oil, which also heavily relates to the fact of what the Canadian dollar is doing as well too. I think a lot of the reason for this push higher bodes weakness for the Canadian dollar. As you can see, this is going to be the inverse of that. This is going to be the mirror opposite of what the Canadian futures contract is going to do. If you look at that, Canadian futures is bottoming out, and this is running higher, obviously, just because it's coupled with the U.S. dollar. But crude oil is going to play on that. The weaker the crude oil price, the weaker the Canadian dollar, because Canada relies so heavily on crude oil as one of its major exports. And Canada can't get any pipelines built, so they're really landlocked, and they're trading all of their crude oil at a very, very steep discount from West Texas Intermediate. So their prices, that's another reason why. I don't want to get into too much market analysis in depth on what what my reasons are for them to run price up to here, but that is definitely one of them. This is a big factor, is crude oil. So just keep that in mind if you're trading Canadian oil. I'm sorry, Canadian oil. If you're trading crude oil, I think we could see further downside on this guy. Okay, real quick, copper. I'm interested in copper. I'll tell you that right now. Nice movement here. Price came up to two equal highs. See this level I got marked right here? I believe they are going to come down and run these levels down here. Now, going forward, I don't know that they're going to have... If they do want to come all the way down to this level here, I don't believe it's going to be for the long term. I don't think they're going to continue down and start to break down into these levels down here. I think it could just be a stop run and then a rejection higher. But I want to see what they do once they get down to these lows here. So this is the tip-off. You can see they've come up, they've ran price, and so far they've traded weaker. In all honesty, I was kind of hoping they would have stopped price right around this level here. I was, excuse me, I was really hoping they would have stopped price like this last candle right here. I was hoping that was the down candle, but I was waiting. This is why you don't pick lows. This is another great example of why you don't, try to pick highs and tops and bottoms. I was hoping that this was going to be the low here, that type of breakout retest strategy. And you can see they smashed through it the very next day. I didn't lose any money. I didn't trade this pair. You wait, you watch, you confirm, and then you get in. So the next level, if that gets broken, is this one right here. And I think on the downside, they're going to run that. And then if they want to have any willingness to continue, then they may want to come down and just run these two equal lows right here. There's lots of liquidity sitting under this guy and this guy right here. But from there, I'd be looking for a failure. I'm bullish copper long term. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'll update you again next week as to what happens there. Cocoa, coffee... Coffee came down past my level. I was hoping for a bounce higher at these levels here, so that's going to negate that trade there. I'll talk a little bit about it later on. I'll do a full commodities breakdown. There's a couple of commodities that I'm definitely looking at that I believe could show some strength. Coffee isn't necessarily one of them right now. I'm just going to pull up a seasonal price chart for coffee. Yeah, historically, seasonally, it comes in a little bit weaker, and currently trading at a discount on the futures contracts. So, yeah, nothing really that interests me on coffee. Again, this was a nice move here. So this big slide down, they broke market structure here, ran it to the upside. I saw that failure there, and they came back up, retested it, and I wanted to see if they had any willingness to see if there was going to be any support in here. Ran through it quite convincingly to the downside, and so that's going to negate my long idea on coffee for now. So we'll come back to that one. Cotton, nothing here that I'm looking at. Orange juice, I called just so you guys know, and again, you can go back to my live sessions. Called along from back down here, and a beautiful run higher. Had run the old highs here, traded softer. We'll probably see more downside on orange juice, so I'm not really too interested in trading anything on orange juice. Sugar, though, this one here I've been watching for a very, very long time. I'm very interested in this market here. Price came down, failure swing. This was that, again, that whole idea. This is what I'm looking for. Price comes down, slams down, makes a low, rejects off of that low, comes back down, failure swing, and then a continuation higher. And we got into several long positions on sugar on this run, and so far it's been trading weaker. So sugar's another one where the bullish momentum, I was hoping for actually price to run up to here. We're not seeing that yet. There's definitely some bullish tendencies, and a lot of the commercials are buying up sugar still. It is still net bullish, but I'm going to cool my jets on sugar for the interim, just because this market structure right here doesn't have me too excited. They really they ran price up, came back down. I got a long off in here. All of our members, they got a signal for a long on sugar right here, and price exploded up nicely back up to here, but then it tapered off. And really, since then, I had the past 3 days on this market haven't really excited me too much. So we could see some downside on sugar. I say that now, and we have a nice bullish start to the day so far for Thursday today. So we could see this run higher, but I'm going to watch if they don't want to break this area right here. If they don't have any willingness to come down and break this area, then we could look at getting into sugar again. Lots of area to room, lots of pips left on this one to capture, so there's no worries about missing a move. But this market structure right here doesn't have me too excited, so I just want to hold off on sugar for just a little bit. Now, nat gas. Now, this was the big one. We're coming into the summer months. This, I believe, nat gas, I think we're going to be seeing much higher prices on nat gas. And I missed the entry. I'm so mad. And I'll show you this, guys. This was my entry on nat gas. This is a demo account. Just so you guys know, if this is the first time joining us, I do not do any live trading with any real funds for illustration purposes. Like the stuff that I show you, this is not my live accounts, and I'll never show you a live account or a live position or anything like that. That's not how I trade. I am not a licensed trade advisor in any way, shape, or form, especially with commodities. And none of the advice or none of the comments I make here are for you to go in and start trading live funds on. This is just for study purposes only. I got to cover my ass here. Obviously, there's a lot of regulators out there. I'm not a licensed commodity trader, so again, please, do not constitute this as advice. This is only my ideas only. But I'll show you this. Nat gas. Look at my entry. I put this entry in here. Price. This is I got a 4 hour. Sorry, I got a 1 hour chart up. Price had come in here. It expanded off, and I kind of had my bullish ideas. So nat gas was doing this. I wasn't interested in natural gas. I was watching it in here. Wasn't interested in it until it finally broke this structure to the upside here and consolidated right in here. And this is when I really started paying attention to it. A lot of the commercials are starting to go long, building up long positions on natural gas. You can see up here, that's where my target is. This was a signal that I put out to my members a few days ago, and I'll show you what happened. The spread on nat gas is gigantic. I put my long in here, price traded off, and basically it was just a gap fill that I was looking. You can see how the thinly traded price action in here. They will typically return back to those areas and retrade those just to shore up price. They expanded higher, came back down, and this is, I can't remember when I put the actual trade in, like the date, but it was earlier this week. Price traded softer, came down to my entry point, came all the way down, and you can see the spread. And this is just on this broker. Other brokers will get you better spreads, but you can see the spread here. It was actually much more than that. It was more like a 7. So this is 298 and then 301. It's only 3 pips here, but at the time when this was running down here, it was much higher than that. It didn't give me a very good number. Anyway, long story short, it didn't get me in. It didn't trigger. It had to have gone down just a little bit further. It would have triggered my order finally, but you can see the reaction that happened off of there. So beautiful trade. In theory, everything worked out great. In reality, unfortunately, it didn't enter the trade. So it happens sometimes, but I'm very bullish on nat gas, and there's going to be lots of opportunities to get in here. I'm going to actually leave that long order in there for the time being, and I'm going to see what price wants to do in here. I'm expecting further continuation to the upside. Plus, we're coming into the summer months, and summer months, obviously, everyone's got their air conditioning running, and everyone's using up natural gas to fuel that those air conditioning units. So that's kind of what my thoughts were on that. So that's really about it. There's some cryptocurrencies here. If you guys first time joining me, my thoughts on cryptocurrency, just so you are aware, it's going down, and it's going to go down a lot more than where we're at. And the only reason, and I'm not trading this as like a descending wedge pattern. This is Bitcoin, by the way. I'm not looking at this as like some kind of a descending wedge pattern, another breakout to the downside. Nothing like that in here that I'm analyzing. It's just a simple fact of who's involved in these crypto markets and what their motivations are behind it, and where the liquidity is. That's it. This big bull run here They never came down once. This is Bitcoin. So they've just been running price, higher, 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 and there's liquidity under these lows here. And there's liquidity under here, and there's liquidity under here. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that they're going to want to come all the way back down to here. I don't think that's in the cards. I believe that there's going to be some artificial support at probably around, this 2,000, 3,000 level, somewhere in there. But I definitely believe that these lows here are going to get ran. So that's sub 6,000, sub 5,000. I think that's where Bitcoin's going to head. And gap to the downside here and trading really, really soft. Hasn't seen any real willingness to pop higher. Ran the stops here. I think this is the next level they're going to run to the downside. And then ultimately this guy right here. Now from there, I would hope that this guy right in here, this 4,000, 5,000 level right in here should offer some support. I like cryptocurrencies, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against them. I think this is the wave of the future, and I think this is what the world is, eventually going to switch over all of their fiat currency to, is to cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I mean, it's where we're going. But I think that the big market makers, the big banks, everyone like that, I think if they weren't already behind this in this move here, I think they are now getting into it, especially, guys like Goldman Sachs and, JP Morgan and all those big institutional traders. They didn't want anything to do with this up until just recently, when several of them have switched over their portfolio holdings to now incorporate a large portion of cryptocurrencies. So I do believe we're going to see lower prices before we see higher, but once they take those lower prices, watch out. I think they're gonna start screaming this thing higher. So I'm not looking for any trades in crypto right now unless it's lower. I just have zero interest in it. You can see here Litecoin was really the leader in the weakness to the downside. Came in and really scooped those lows up, grabbed those. Ripple is going to follow suit. Ripple is actually interesting. I'm leading a little bit more on the upside to Ripple, as this could be a leader going forward. So Bitcoin's always been kind of the king of crypto, obviously, and whatever Bitcoin's doing, the rest have sort of followed suit. I kind of believe that, in my opinion, that Ripple is actually going to take charge here in the interim. Maybe not long term, but I think they're definitely going to put some dollars behind this. And I think this could be, will probably come down a little bit lower, but I think we could see some resistance, some support at this level right here. We may not necessarily come down and sweep the low here, and only because, for the simple fact that they've done it already. And none of the other cryptos did that. They came up, they rammed it back down, they took the stops under here and under here, retested these old highs over here, and so far haven't shown a willingness to come under them like these other guys have. Right, like Bitcoin, Litecoin. Now Ethereum is another one that could show some strength. However, you see how they've been stacking up price in here. That just screams liquidity under there. That just screams stops. Everyone's got sell stops right underneath here. And I think they're going to jam down and grab them. If it was a market structure more like this, where they had come down, if that was more, if Ethereum had a market structure more like Ripple, where they had come down and they had run those, then I would suggest that, yeah, they're done. This is about as low as it's going to go. Maybe a little bit lower to the downside. This basically just that old candle right there, that high right there. I'd be interested to see them kind of do something like this. Come down, test that old candle high, and then more than likely we'll see a reaction happen. At the very least, they'll fill that gap in, and then a return to this consolidation level here. But they didn't do that. You can see here this market structure, very, very precise. They came down, failure, 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 didn't take the stops, ran it higher. So that's my thoughts on cryptos. If you guys are cryptocurrency traders, can I look at the pound yen, please? Absolutely. 733. Sorry about that. That was a message came in about 15 minutes ago. Yeah, you bet. I'm just going to wrap up on crypto, and then I will talk about the pound yen real quick, and then I think I'm going to wrap up this trading session because I'm just going to run through these pairs real quick here. I'm starting to see a bit of a market structure break here on pound dollar. That's what I like to see. But I want to see these lows broken here. And then I want to see it run down, and I want to see it jam back up and retest that. So nothing there yet on that guy. Nice rejection at these levels here so far. I like to see that. Turtle soup. And what's the US dollar doing? Are we pushing higher yet on the US dollar? Just so far has run these lows here, and so far unwillingness to continue yet. It's not what I meant to grab. Who's this guy? You know, I love MT4. I love trading off of it. There's definitely better analysis platforms out there to run your analysis. I definitely like trading at the ease and the simplicity of it, but the one thing that drives me crazy about MT4 is grabbing some of these trend lines sometimes and just getting like even just getting a trend line straight. It just drives me crazy sometimes. I'm sure I can't be the only other one expressing that sentiment, but anyway, yeah, these lows just got ran here, so we'll see if they want to continue down or if that was the low for the day. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, back to crypto. Not much here that I can say other than what I have. I think ultimately we will see higher prices on it, but could be longer term out, end of the year, maybe even into next year. They could even just consolidate prices like Bitcoin. I mean, they could just keep price suppressed in here, kind of like what they're doing with the gold and silver markets for the next foreseeable future as well too. I mean, there's certainly you know, no reason why they wouldn't do that, but definitely just so you know, this sell-off here, this was not the result of retail sell-off. This was not the result of, you know, your next door neighbor and your mom and your dad who are excited about cryptocurrency and invested in it. This is not them selling this down. Thanks, John. He just laughed. John came on and said, I can teach you how to make a straight line. I know you can you can make a straight line on it by going like this and holding it down, and then you hold the shift and move your shift over. Like, I know you can do that, but it's just getting that initial line. It drives me crazy. I can never do it. So if you got a better way, please, I'm all ears. Love learning new stuff. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I was just saying, yeah, this sell-off, this was not the result of a retail sell-off. This is, you can see the footprints of major institutional organizations getting in here and pushing big dollars into this, selling this thing short. And that's, in my opinion, the only reason why we saw this sell-off on Bitcoin, because they want to reprice crypto lower so they can take advantage of it, get in on it, and then run this thing higher. I think, personally, I think we could see 50,000 on Bitcoin. This 20,000 mark that they just fell shy of here, I think that's just going to be a stepping stone. This thing, I think, is honestly going to go higher, much higher. But before they do that, they're going to run these lows here, I believe. That's my personal opinion. So, okay, I will, yeah, let me just run through the pound yen quick here for you, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up because I'm sure everyone wants to get on with their day. I've been on for about an hour and 20 minutes here so far, and so far, not much happening in the markets on some of these other pairs. So you know what I'm watching for. I've said it a few times. I'm watching the euro and the pound for that movement there. But I'm not going to sit here and take all day to watch it either. So, okay, pound yen. Just going to start my analysis out real quick here. A couple of obvious levels. Some real support level at down into here, which is interesting, and prices come off. Short-term low there, short-term high there, and now we're just kind of trading off of this resistance level in here. So what price has done, they came back up, expanded, ran back lower, and now they're just retesting this small consolidation level in here. So what I'm thinking on the pound, now this is obviously going to depend. So the pound sterling has just obviously increased their their rates, their monetary rates. So we could see strength on this pair. There's a little bit of a a retail trend. Grab it by the right side, click and hold, swing it across past. I'll watch your comment in 1 second here, John. Yeah, so you can see how they're just kind of slowly stair-stepping it higher. If they break this level in here, this small area in here, if this gets broken, then we will see price return to the upside, and I would look at this level right here as a potential target, 180.75 on the long term. We'll just 180.75 right there. That's where I'd be looking on the upside for them to run price back up to. And that just basically takes us, you know what, let me just get an exact price on that. Sorry about that, guys. I was a little off on my numbers here. 180.40. Let's just get that precise. 180.40. Let's try that one more time. There we go. So that's on the upside where I'd be looking if they ran through, if they had any willingness to continue higher, and which, again, if the pound does see some strength, and I'll have to run over and I want to have a look at the pound futures contract and find out what they're doing as well too. I got to do a little bit more research on the rate news that came out today. So stay tuned on this guy. I will definitely update you on this next week. I won't be doing another live session for this week, so it'll have to be next Tuesday. But I'll give you some more information on this. Let me just do a little bit more research, find out exactly what the news events were, because that just came out about an hour and a half ago. Find out the futures contract, what they want to do with that, and then I can give you a bit more deeper insight. But just for on the surface value, I would, to be quite honest with you, I think this is a suspect run. If you take a fib from the low to the high, it's definitely the 50% level. Obviously offers some fairly major resistance on the upside, but look where these levels are lining up. All right, see the 79% retracement level, 72% retracement level. Very, very interesting. I like those two levels, so we could see further upside on the pound yen here. I like these two levels, to be honest with you, as a target on the upside. Lots of confluence at those levels, and if they do want to push this higher, I'd be looking for a target up there. Now, what would negate that is you see the past week structure in here, how they've really been falling out and getting weaker. Price here on Tuesday didn't have any willingness to get above this green candle right in here, this last up candle, and they've been rolling price over. If on the downside, I got to zoom in here a little bit. If on the downside they fail to get through really the lows on yesterday's candle, see the body low on that candle, 144. What is the body? The open on this candle comes in at, come on, give me that price tag. This is the other thing. There's two things in MT4 that drive me crazy. Getting straight lines and getting the price box to pop up here. It's not going to happen. I can see it. You can't see it at the bottom of my chart, but I got it on the status bar at the bottom here. So the low comes in at 143.18. Sorry, I'm not looking for the low. The open comes in at 150.44. Hang on. This is a monthly candle. Give me this. I'm not getting the right... hang on 1 second here, guys. The close. I'm sorry. I'm looking for the close. 140.63. Had a bit of a brain spasm there for a second. I'm looking for the close. 140.63. Okay, 144.63. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is this level right here, 63, if they come down, and it's also just happens to be an area in here where you get about the midpoint of this level in here, the old highs right in here, very, very big level of potential support right here. Price had come down, it's smashed into it. So far it's rejected. It's come up, and this, we're on the monthly here, by the way. So this is very, very long-term analysis. But we're so far failing to go higher. So price is so far, it's rejected off of this candle low right here. And so far, we're just kind of trading in a bit of a fractal a pattern right now. If 144.63 gets broken and they close lower than that, so you can see here, they came down and they wicked through it, but they did not close below 140.63. Same thing here, they opened up, and so far they've opened up higher on the month. If price fails to go higher and they start coming down and they close this monthly candle below 144.63, I believe we're going to see lower prices, and I would expect this level in here to get run right about here. So 131, you know, whatever, 131.50, 131.40. That would be the level on the downside that I'd be looking for. On the upside, again, if this level acts as support and we don't see price have a willingness to go through there, then I believe on the upside, on the monthly, this is a ways out. You know, this could be the rest of the year trading. Long-term forecast, 180.40. Definitely has my eye, and maybe a potential return to these lows right here. More than likely, these lows right here. Now, again, looking at the full big picture view on this thing here, they've really been pushing price down quite a bit. They've failed to go down here, and that's kind of why I'm thinking, you know, on the upside, there could be a pull to the upside on this just because of this failure swing here. I think if they were going to come down and run these lows down here, they would have done it on this guy right here. But they could be loading up. They came back up, rejected. They just could be loading up, grabbing some more stops, and then continuing under here next, and that could be their next stop. So keep an eye on that level right there. I like this bullishly, actually. I'd like to see if they want to come up and push price higher. But on the downside, there's definitely levels where they could be watching. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Unless you guys have any other questions, you kind of got my thoughts on today. Definitely an interesting week trading this week. Didn't have a whole ton of activity. You know, a couple of S&P signals that we had put out. We had a limit order on a nat gas order that we had put out. But in terms of Forex, I didn't have a whole ton. I was actually watching the price on Tuesday for the euro. See the price coming up in here? I was looking for a short on euro on Tuesday, but admittedly, I was looking for price to come up higher. So the high on this came up to, I was right here was the level I was looking, 116.50 to 116.60. I was looking for a short. Price only came up to here at 116.44. So I put a limit order in. It didn't execute. It is what it is. I missed this move to the downside, but that's the break sometimes. There's always next week and plenty of opportunities. So if you guys are just joining us as well, too, if you're new, just keep in mind, we don't do a lot of scalping. Every now and then, Dave will jump on if he sees a quick move, you know, on the S&P or something like that. He'll jump into it. Myself personally, I don't like to do a lot of scalping. I'm more of a intraday trader, a swing trader. You know, so I'll try to get in moves, especially with commodities. I'll try to get in moves that are you know, last a week to a couple months in duration, and those are kind of my style on commodities. On Forex, I'm more of a day trader, where I'll get in during early London. I'll put a limit order in, you know, even before London Open happens. I'll expect levels to get run up to, reaction to happen, and then I will get in for the bulk majority of that reaction, and I'll close my trade typically at the end of the day. Typically after New York close is when London close is when I'll be shutting my trades down. Every now and then I'll run it for a couple of days if I'm trying to capture the weekly range. So for instance, something like this here, where I figured this was going to be the high of the week, I may come in and hold off, and if it's going to be a really, really big down week, I may hold out until Thursday. But that's kind of my trading style. So going forward, just so you know, that's what I'm looking at on the charts. If you guys are in here looking for something like on the the 5-minute chart, just get me something in for an hour or two. I'm in, I'm out. I'm not necessarily going to be looking at anything like that going forward, just because that's just not my style of trading. There's lots of people. I've got an analyst who works with us who he loves that. He's in, he's out, he's quick. He scalps things, and he's in for 20, 30 pips, and he does it 3-4 times a week, and he'll make his weekly range doing that. That's not really what I like to do, but by all means, if you do have some interest in that, let me know, and we can certainly set up some live sessions going forward for that. So, with that in mind, I'll just post something up here real quick for you guys, just so you're aware, and going forward for our schedule. On Tuesday, I do a live London Open session, and all these times in here, just so you guys know, are New York time. Okay, so that's the schedule every single Tuesday. New York time. Wednesday, Dave jumps on. He trades the New York Open. And that New York Open, he gets started at Equities Open, which is at 9 a.m. New York time. And he'll go, if he sees something on the chart, he'll probably sit with you guys for about an hour. But if there's nothing there, kind of like a day like today where I'm not seeing anything that I'm interested in, he might only jump on do a quick 20-minute review, and then he's in there, but doing that thing. So he trades typically S&P and gold, and then I'm back again, obviously, for Thursdays. And I am, again, I will typically do the New York Open for Thursday, and I jump on a little bit earlier than what Dave does. I'm on anywhere from 8 a.m. Till about this time, which is about 10 a.m. New York time. I typically don't take 2 hours, but I'll either start right at 8 a.m. or I'll start at 8:30 a.m., just depending on the news that's happening. I will, if there's a big news event coming up, then I'll want to get in ahead of it, and I'll be looking to put positions on ahead of that news. And then once the news releases, price comes down or up to our entry level, hits it, and then reacts the way that I want it to. So it'll either on days like those, I'll be starting at 8 a.m. If there isn't anything really that I'm looking for, or it's like a big news day like today, and then see something like this, I'll just jump on right at 8:30, and then I'll just trade out from there, and I'll do some market analysis. But I'll typically go till about now. And then Fridays, the last day of the week, the typical trading session, Dave jumps back on it again for Fridays, and he is in from about those times right there. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So that's the schedule going forward, and that's what we've been running now for the past little while. It's been working quite well, and hopefully we can't always get everybody. Everyone's got jobs and lives in different parts of the world, and things like that. But we try to do our best, and that's why we have a couple of different options. The other thing that I'll sometimes do, and I'll give you lots of heads up and notice, the other thing that I'll do is sometimes I'll do a Thursday London Open. If something's coming up on the charts, maybe there's some news releasing for the euro or the pound. Early London Open. If that's the case, then I'll switch that up a bit. But that's pretty much the only deviation. That's our schedule going forward, so you can kind of mark that in your calendar. If you haven't already, just click right down here on your right-hand corner of your screen. Click the subscribe button, and then you'll get a note you'll get notification when we go live for the next ones. Because every now and then, if there's something going on in price or something happens, I'll want to jump on and do a live session, and just so you can take advantage of that. If I see a trade that comes firing up right away, I'll make sure that you guys get in on that as well too, and I'll just do a real quick impromptu live session, so you can hopefully take advantage of that. So just make sure you click down on the subscribe button. And if you haven't already, check us out at f45trading.com. We offer several options for traders. If you've, at all different skill levels, from expert, intermediate to beginners, will help you out. And we have a signals section of our membership group where we offer signals for people who want that. We have obviously market analysis, market direction, market overview for several different Forex commodities and crypto pairs that we do on a regular basis. We have a live chat room. All of our traders get in. We talk about things. We post charts. We throw up ideas. This is what I'm looking at long term. This is what I'm looking at today. This is what I'm looking at tomorrow. We have all of that, and then we're also starting to roll out something new as well too, and that is a one-on-one coaching feature where you can. It's just a monthly program. You can either go month to month or you can do a 3-month program, and we'll work with you one-on-one. Nobody else, just myself or one of my analysts. If you have any questions that specifically pertain to trading, the markets, we're not there to give you signals or anything like that. If you want signals, you can check out our signals channel that we offer. But it's just more so on, hey, I'm struggling with this with my trading, or I'm not sure about this, or how do you do that? We'll walk you through it one-on-one. We'll take our time. It's a guaranteed minimum 20 hours a month. We just run them in 1 or 2 hour sessions throughout the week for up to 20 hours a month. And if you guys are interested in that, just shoot me a message at either on my Twitter handle up here, Instagram. You can DM me. There's several ways you can get hold of me. Email f45trading@gmail.com. Lots of different ways to get a hold of me. If you're interested in any of that, please let me know. Otherwise, just jump on, check us out at f45trading.com, or just do a simple, follow us on Twitter or Instagram, as we regularly post. I regularly post charts up on there as well too, with some trade ideas. So make sure you follow us on that. And that's about it, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you very much for joining. And again, if you have any questions, throw them up in the chat here. I'll keep this open for about another minute or two, just wrapping things up, and then I'm gonna run here. So I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you learned something today. I know that trading isn't always easy, and there's not always trades that we're looking at. So far, looking at this, actually, we're seeing some nice rejection on the US dollar, which kind of bodes well to what I was saying earlier here. I would like to see this start to reject and come lower. Euro seems to be leading the charge a little bit in here. I'm going to go to a 15-minute. Some nice wicks in here. So far, price is unwilling to continue higher. I like how they ran through and grabbed that. I bet you that's 10 pips. They're just under a 10 pip stop run. Look at that. 10 pip stop run. Right there. Bam. That's how you know it's a turtle soup. When you get that. When you get price that runs an old high, about 10 pips, 10 to 20 pips max, that's a stop run. So we're probably going to end up seeing prices lower for Euro for sure. The pound so far isn't showing any willingness yet to continue lower, but that's something I'll be watching here for the day. Like I say, I'm watching for that break and that retest of that market structure, and then continuation of the downside. So far, Euro is starting to show the leadership on that, and I think that's only because we're getting the rejection here on Euro GBP. But anyway, that's it. I don't see any other... Oh, I do have one question here. Harley, please get the watermark indicator so to make my chart identification easy. The watermark indicator. What are you saying, Harley? This stuff here, it's distracting you? Is that what you mean by that? Oh, are you saying you want making the chart identification like this, this stuff up here a little bit easier to read? Is that what you're saying? The market tab in MT4. Okay, you can send me a DM on that a little bit a little bit later. I'll have to I'll look into that. What you're saying, like market watch? Is this what you're saying that you'd like to see? I don't know of any other markets tab in MT4. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. What you're saying. Yeah, I can look at doing something like that for you on for future ones. I'm not going to do it today, but we can certainly get that for you. But anyway, okay, guys, I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will catch up to you here. Dave will be back tomorrow morning. You got the times right here, so I hope you enjoy that session with him. I'll be back on Tuesday, London Open. And I think it's going to be, next week is going to be a great week of trading as well, too. So there's lots of stuff coming up that's I'm fairly excited for, some levels that I'm looking at. And there's a surge function, Harley. It installs direct from there. I'll have to look into that, Harley. I'm not going to do it during this live session here, but I'll thanks for your notes on that. I'll look into that, and then hopefully I can get it set up there for the next one. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later.